Happy New Year, tasties and tastettes. Welcome back to another episode of FTWGT Weekly. We are ringing in the new year with myself, Lenny, and again, as always, the producer in the closet, Dante.
That's me.
We're just giving in now.
Yeah.
New year, same you. And we are back with hella movie reviews here. And when I say hella, I mean not one, not two, but three.
Trace.
A lot of stuff to talk about here. And very little actual topics to get into, like as far as news or anything. So that's kind of nice. So we got plenty of time to expound on our movie thoughts. Some of them more bulky than others. Shall we start with an interesting article I just read, though, prior to hopping on here? So you're familiar with Chick-Fil-A, right, Dante?
I mean, duh.
I had actually, funny enough, my second Chick-fil-A sandwich the other day ever.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You've only been there twice?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yo, the first time I discovered Chick-fil-A, actually, it was D that put me on. And
shout out to the guy, D.
We went there 3 times that day.
Jesus Christ, dude. Same thing every time?
No, different. Like the first time we went there, literally, like we had a little time and we stopped there for breakfast. So I got my chicken on a biscuit. And then we went there for lunch and I got the chicken nuggets. And then on the way home, we stopped there one more time, and that's where I fell in love with the spicy chicken deluxe.
I'm gonna tell you what. I think it's probably like the most overhyped place ever.
I'd definitely say it probably is a little overhyped, but like as far as fast food goes, I just don't think you could beat it.
First of all, I don't order chicken sandwiches anywhere, so this might be part of it. Is I don't have a comparison.
The only other fast food chain that can even come close to their chicken sandwiches is Wendy's, and it's really not close.
So like, yeah, if I'm gonna go to a place that serves burgers, like I'm just gonna get a burger. I'm not gonna get a chicken sandwich. I had it the other day, and it was a little cold because we got like a bulk order at work. Like we did a little like catering order, you know.
Got you.
But I was like, this is not that good. I don't know why people sweat this so much. You know what my major gripe was? It wasn't the chicken. I thought the bun was whack. Like the bun is like super basic. Nothing
so the thing
impressive.
is, the bun's not supposed to be the hero of the sandwich. It is the chicken.
But the bread like brings together a sandwich, dude.
I give you
and
that.
the chicken wasn't impressive either. But like,
I think it's because you had it cold, though. I think if you had it fresh, it wouldn't have been
maybe
as disappointing.
I don't believe in sitting in lines for fast food, and I feel like Chick-fil-A is like notorious for having very long lines.
So one thing I will say is, at the 2 different Chick-fil-A locations, or actually 3 different Chick-fil-A locations that I have been to multiple times, whenever there's a line, even if it's like all the way to the end of the parking lot, they are very fast about moving through that. Please hold.
Yep.
But yeah, no, they're really fast about moving through that line. And also, like, if you do curbside, it's like that.
Yeah, I just don't know if I would even entertain the line. I see a line at a place, I just keep driving. I'm like,
dog, if you see
this.
the line, like, curbside is a cheat code. You put that through, and they're out there in like 5 minutes.
What that thing do? So yeah, Chick-fil-A. What is aside from chicken sandwiches, what are they famous for?
No, it's chicken sandwiches. That's what they're known for.
And being closed on Sundays.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, the Lord's chicken.
Interestingly enough, New York is trying to pass some legislation
that forces them to be open on Sunday.
Yes. Kind of crazy, right?
Oh man.
And so I have a little bit of thing here, given some context behind it. So Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina has expressed strong opposition to a recent bill proposed by New York State Assembly, which aims to require certain Chick-fil-A locations to remain open 7 days a week.
Wait, so this bill is targeting Chick-fil-A specifically?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I think like how many food locations are closed on Sundays?
Okay. I'm sure there's others, but yeah.
The bill argues that publicly owned service areas should maximize public benefit and that allowing retail space to remain unused for a significant part of the week is a disservice to the travelers. It targets food vendors at rest stops owned by New York State Thruway Authority. So it may not be all Chick-fil-A's. It sounds like it's going to be the ones at rest stops specifically. Okay. This proposal directly challenges Chick-fil-A's long-standing policy of closing on Sunday for religious reasons. State Representative Tony Simone, who introduced the bill, emphasized the need for diverse food options for travelers, especially during holidays. In a vehement response, Graham announced on X, formerly known as Twitter, his intention to introduce federal legislation that would withhold funds from any city or state that enforced such a requirement on Chick-fil-A. There's more, but I don't know if you need me to read more of it.
That's a tricky one, though. Well, one, like, they said diverse options. Like, yo, they literally just serve chicken. So that by itself is crazy.
This is a slippery slope for me because what diversity are they looking for?
Yeah, for real. But, like, the other thing, too, isn't one of the big things of this country supposed to be, like, protection of religious rights? Like, if they're not open on Sunday for religious reasons, aren't we supposed to respect that? Whatever the reason may actually be.
Yeah, but where can the Christians eat if they can't eat at Chick-fil-A, dude?
No, they go to church and they eat the body of Christ.
That's good. drink the blood of them too. Yeah. But I mean, like, diversity. It's like where do the brothers eat on a Sunday? You know,
churches. Are they closed?
Oh shit, I don't know. Google that. If churches is open on Sunday, this is crazy. Of all places, these churches open on Sundays. And where, like, how many locations does churches have?
I don't know, but they're definitely all Southern.
Okay. Have you had them before?
No, I haven't actually.
Sounds like you want to.
Kinda.
You don't fuck with Popeyes?
Not really. Like, that's one that's definitely overhyped.
I don't think I've ever had Popeyes. I've had the biscuits.
Oh yeah, these are all Southern locations.
792 though. Good for them. Are they all open on Sundays?
I'm trying to find that, but
did one say Norway?
I don't think so. I think you saw that wrong. They are open on Sundays. Yo, strangely enough, not open on Tuesdays though.
What?
Maybe that's their day of worship. It might be a different church, you know? Not the Christian church.
Yeah, do some churches not see Sunday as their holy day?
No, because I think the Catholic Church sees it as, like, Saturday.
So you're just scrolling through, like, different locations now?
I just went to another one in a complete different state just to see. Yeah, they're all open Wednesday through Monday.
That's so weird. I love this idea of establishments just being like, yeah, there's going to be a day of the week where we just don't open. Tuesday's a shit day for it, though. Sunday.
Honestly, I think Tuesday makes more sense than Sunday, though. Tuesday's probably a lower traffic day than Sunday.
So I get it on that front, but I think from an employee happiness standpoint, like, one of the biggest selling points to ever want to work in the fast food industry would be like,
you have every Sunday off.
Yeah, you don't have to work Sundays. So, like, football season's awesome. You know,
okay.
That to me would be the only thing that would get me to work in a fast food place. Have you worked in a fast food place?
No, never.
I've talked about it here. Like, I've worked at, like, pizza places. Yeah. You know, I've done that type of thing. So more like, I've been learning a lot more about like different kinds of food options. So I think fast casual is what that's considered.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in food service, just never fast food. Or I guess technically I worked at a pizza shop for one day.
Yeah, that didn't last long.
No, I wasn't actually an employee there. What happened was they were so bombarded with orders that the owner asked the delivery driver to see if he could get any extra people to come in as delivery drivers. Yeah. And their delivery driver was my boy, and he hit up me and one of my other boys, and we went and delivered pizza for the day.
Really minimizes what I did for years of my life when it's like, well, anybody can do it.
I'm sorry, yo. You do not have to have a degree in that.
I used to tell people I was a professional driver.
Yeah. I travel a lot for work.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, like, you know, there's NASCAR and then there's me. Yeah. So
same thing.
Yeah. Not a huge line of difference there. We both drive as a profession. So.
Yeah, let's see Jeff Gordon get it to you in 30 minutes or less.
I think he could.
Probably.
If I'm being honest, I think he's got that. Yeah, so I don't know, let us know what you think out there. Is it unfair to tell Chick-fil-A to open on Sundays? I do think, you know, the traveler idea, it does suck to the idea of like you're traveling on a Sunday and you walk into like a rest stop and there's like 2 or 3 food options and one of them's closed.
Yeah, that is tough.
That you know, and it's like, what are the options? It's like a Quiznos,
Yeah, it's always some sort of sub shop, whether it's a Quiznos, a Subway, or D'Angelo's.
Yeah.
And then there's always a McDonald's or a BK.
And let's be honest, like D'Angelo's is A1. D'Angelo is A1. D'Angelo's is A1.
Oh, both of them are A1?
Well, one's a person and one's the...
No, you know that's two different restaurants, though?
D'Angelo?
D'Angelo and D'Angelo's, like the green sign and the brown sign.
What are you talking about?
Yo, so there's D'Angelo restaurant, which
No.
is like the sub shop, right?
No.
And then there's D'Angelo's.
Google it.
Yo, dead ass.
Where is D'Angelo?
Hold on. Now I gotta Google it. Now I gotta prove myself. That's crazy.
It tried auto-correcting to D'Angelo's.
It did. It really did.
Why? Why do you think that is?
Bro, I swear to God it's a thing, and of course it's not gonna come up for me right now.
I swear to God, you just made this up.
Yo, bro, nah.
This is not real.
Yo, I'm being dead serious. No. Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Damn, I'm searching like
D'Angelo green sign, dude. It's not a thing. Can somebody tell me what the fuck this man is talking about?
Fuck. Forget it.
What, dude? Are you thinking about Quiznos? Look up Quiznos.
No. I'm not thinking about Quiznos. I swear to God. Like,
you think your phone's gonna give you different answers? Well, your phone Google's the same Google, dude. You texting a friend?
No,
hold on. Let me call someone.
It's because I need to look at Google Maps right now, and it's easier on my phone.
Wait, so you know where one is?
I think so.
Where?
In North Quincy.
That's probably just a D'Angelo's, dude.
Nah, son. Hold on. Fuck,
this
it is.
Crazy.
All right, whatever. Moving on.
Fucking idiot, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, D'Angelo's is the best sub shop, and then Subway, and then I don't know, or if you're one of our friends, Subways. And Quiznos, though, I don't know that I've ever had it. And I think
I don't even know where there is one.
The mall?
There is one in the mall?
Plaza, yeah.
Okay.
Corner shop, I think. Or it used to be there.
I can't remember the last time I've been in that food court.
I only go to Sarku. Which Sarku should be in rest stops.
The Brockton Sarku is better than the Braintree Sarku.
I've always said that.
Yeah. Have you?
Yeah, because they have they used to have barbecue ribs. Oh my God, were they good? Now I have to get the fucking orange chicken.
Not the same.
No, it's not the same. It's still good, but like the problem is the chicken's been sitting in the sauce for so long that like.
Nah, what makes it is you always gotta get that extra sauce on there too.
Nah, it's got plenty of sauce on it.
Nah, you need the extra sauce.
No. I always think about they have a bourbon chicken option in there. And
that's the one I get, and then you get the extra bourbon sauce.
Well, I'm talking about the orange chicken though. You don't need extra sauce in the orange chicken.
Okay.
Be clear about your chicken options next time.
I'm sorry. If I say extra sauce at Sarku, the people know what I'm talking about.
Well, no, we're talking about the teriyaki sauce. If you're asking for extra sauce,
no, it's the bourbon sauce. The same sauce they cook the bourbon chicken in.
No.
Yeah.
Teriyaki sauce is what they put on the rice and the chicken.
Agree to disagree.
You're an idiot. Sure. You've lost all credibility here, dude.
Have I?
You go on a diet and you start talking about there being different D'Angelo's, dude. You're fucking crazy.
I swear to God, I'm not wrong.
You are fucking wrong, dude. I will be so like, okay, when this pod comes out, people, if you see behind me a D'Angelo, it can't have an S and it has to have a green sign. If that's behind me, it's on me, dude. I'm an asshole. For right now though, everything says I'm correct.
Because you know I'm gonna do more research when
that's fine.
When
it's
I'm
fine. Take
editing.
your time, dude. Find the one that's like a restaurant that's in like the middle of the country. It's the only one. It's just called D'Angelo.
Well, maybe they went out of business.
Can they even open that? Like, would we be allowed to open a D'Angelo sub shop?
Yeah, sure.
And just because we don't add an S, it's not stealing.
I could even spell it DE instead of D apostrophe.
Bailey's
it's a whole different name now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to pop culture.
This was pop culture, but
yeah, to a point. I saw a list of the top 10 most talked about films on Twitter in 2023. Any guesses?
Damn, this is like when you're on a game show. I'm drawing a blank, bro.
I think number one's super obvious.
Super obvious?
Super obvious.
Barbie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the interesting part I took from this list though is how much I think you would attribute success to popularity or people talking about on Twitter.
Yeah, word of mouth.
And I don't think that this list fully lines up with that. I think to a point it does. But talking about it used to say controversy creates cash. It's not always the case. So Barbie is number 1, successful. Across the Spider-Verse, successful. That was number 2. The Super Mario Brothers movie, successful. I think controversy helped it with like the hysteria over Chris Pratt voicing Mario and all that shit, right?
Hysteria.
Here's where 4 through 6 I think are a bit interesting though, because I don't think that they're the same level of hit that you got from the first 3.
But are they something that like appeal to a niche audience? Is that what it is?
One of them. So number 4 was The Little Mermaid.
Okay.
Another movie that was like had a decent amount of controversy around it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think people were thrilled with the casting because they were maybe racist. They probably eat Chick-fil-A.
You said they probably eat Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, well, Chick-fil-A is not racist. They just hate the gays, right?
Gays just aren't Christian, or they can't be according to Chick-fil-A.
They don't let them in.
Yeah,
like no pride parade's going by there, you know. So number 5 was The Flash. Very controversial again. People fucking hated it, but not successful, right? Yeah. So I found that interesting. And then 6 was Scream 6, also riddled with controversy over the past few months. On another note,
what was the controversy on that one?
We talked about it. The 2 lead actresses from the last couple movies.
Oh, right.
Exited the franchise.
Yeah.
One was given a hard boot. The other one just left and said she had other plans. And then today I actually read that Christopher Lloyd, who is at the helm to direct Scream 7, has also left.
Oh,
shit. So, total side tangent, Scream might be dead.
You said total side chick?
I think I said tangent, but it came off as changent. But yeah, Scream might be dead.
Yeah.
Because I think Neve Campbell's too prideful and she just might not come back unless they throw her like a hella big bag. We're talking Gucci, Chanel, Prada.
A Birkin bag.
Fuck yeah. Number 7 is where it gets back on track for me a bit, because Oppenheimer, which I thought because of the memes and everything, would be significantly higher on the list.
Yeah, I thought it'd be up there with Barbie.
But, you know, like, look at the list. Like, you have 4 movies on here so far that are very successful, and then you have 3 that are in the middle here that, you know, Scream, I think, for its genre, was decently successful, but didn't blow you away for it being one of the most talked about movies on the internet. Granted, most of the conversation feels like it's come since the movie came out, so that could also be where that one comes from. But like The Flash was talked about a ton ahead of time, but it didn't create any curiosity about the movie. And maybe Ezra Miller had like,
I was gonna say, I think a lot of the talk too was just about how Ezra Miller's canceled. So yeah, those were all people that were like, "Fuck it, I'm not gonna go watch." Yeah,
it probably took away a lot of interest. But the Little Mermaid one is maybe the strangest of all. Did the Little Mermaid release both on Disney and in movie theater at the same time, or it was just movie theater? Right?
I think it was just movie theater for a little bit.
Okay.
Because I'd like to think if it was released to Disney at the same time, I probably would have watched it, and I definitely haven't seen it.
It's on Disney now. Might you watch it? I just didn't, like, me personally, like, I think, you know, you talked about this last week, like, movies not being for you. Yeah. Like, Barbie makes way more sense for a movie I would watch than, like, Little Mermaid.
So, the biggest difference is the ties to the character. I had no childhood ties to Barbie growing up, but I definitely watched the fuck out of Little Mermaid.
Did you really, though?
Oh yeah, I was
of all the Disney movies.
I watched a lot of them, and like I fucked with Little Mermaid.
That's like bottom tier for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
You know what? I think actually the main thing for the live action, the reason I didn't watch it, there was no Sebastian, right? The crab. Yeah. Was he a crab or a lobster?
Crab.
Yeah. There was no Sebastian, so like.
And you have crabs, so you like to see them portrayed on screen.
No. But like. It's fucked up how they're doing these live actions and they're getting rid of like some of like the main side characters, right? Because like the same thing with Mulan, like there was no Mushu.
Mushu?
Thought it was Mishu.
I think it's Mushu.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mushu pork. Yeah.
Did you watch that too?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't watch that.
No.
It
was an okay movie. I don't think they should have put Mulan name on it, just because like.
Bailey's finding every toy possible.
She's finding all the noisiest ones. Yeah.
Yeah, to just ratchet up the noise right now. It's crazy.
All right, Bailey. Squeak toys are banned from the pod room from now on.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that, dude. She ripped the guts out of one of them over here and took the squeaker out like right before you got here. Okay, final 3 movies on the list. So we had Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Moderately successful, probably broke even, right?
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think it was just all pet memes. It was all Rocket Raccoon memes, probably. Okay. And then Blue Beetle. Came in at number
Blue
10.
Beetle was on that?
Yeah, number 10.
Who was talking about Blue Beetle? What'd they have to say?
Oh, it's probably people like you who said it was the Spanish people's Black Panther. Never saw it, though. Part of the reason it's on this list is not successful. Fucking hype that shit up for months and then never fucking went and saw it. Yeah, big supporter, dude.
Because if I never watched it, I can't say it was bad.
Yeah, George Lopez ain't never getting a sequel.
Give me a George Lopez as the superhero movie.
I think that time has passed, my friend. He's just gonna be the weird uncle from here on out.
He's got it. He'll have like telekinesis or something where he doesn't have to really move.
I don't think I want to see that movie, dude. Yeah, it's just a movie you'll hype up and not see too. So
yeah.
So yeah, interestingly enough, like I think half of these movies were successful and half of them weren't. So I mean, it's just I think it like one of the things I took away from it is like Twitter isn't real life. Right? Like social media in general isn't real life, and people, it's like it's an echo chamber of people's opinions where they can just throw a bunch of shit out there and talk senselessly about something, but it doesn't even matter because who knows if they're actually going to go and see the things that they're talking shit about. Right?
Yeah.
Because
some people are more in it for the discussion than anything.
Yeah, but then like, what's the point in a discussion if you can't come from any type of an intelligent point of view? Granted, you do it every week, right?
What? Fuck are you saying?
Well, Blue Beetle, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
And never were able to back up any of your words.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like me and Oppenheimer.
I am the voice of the people.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, does that surprise anybody, that list on there? I think it makes sense. I can't think of any other movies that would have really slated on there as being more talked about. Like maybe more Marvel, which is weird that there was just Guardians that showed up on there.
I guess every other Marvel movie this year, if I remember correctly, was a flop, right?
Yeah, but like there's other movies on here that were flops, and like I don't know, like the Kang stuff. But I guess it like that was all directed towards Jonathan Major.
I was going to say that's probably more like Jonathan Major's trending topic, not necessarily.
It would have been Ant-Man that would have been impacted by him. You know, the Marvels, I guess, didn't get anybody talking about it.
And they still don't need to. Is
it too late in the year maybe for Aquaman to have breached that? And like I just don't think people talked about Aquaman that much either.
No.
Either. So last little news thing I had was just quickly I saw as I was scrolling Twitter today, this whole list of franchises that are returning with new movies in 2024.
Really?
And it's extensive. It's kind of crazy.
How upset is this list going to make me?
You probably haven't seen 60% of it, so I'm not angry. And I just think is like 2024 going to be the year of the sequel / reboot. So let's dive into this. So we're getting a new Alien film in 2024. Twister.
Oh, I remember hearing about that actually. Yeah.
Mad Max.
We talked about that. Yeah.
Bad Boys.
They're doing another one?
Yeah, the third one did really well. Like exceeded expectations well.
But like we were just talking about like them like people being aged out of certain roles, and I just feel like they're getting a little old for this shit.
Will Smith isn't. I think Will Smith still works in an action role.
All right,
Martin Lawrence was never like the action guy in those movies.
True. Yeah, you're right.
He didn't like.
No, you're right.
Yeah. The Crow.
Was that the one where the dude got killed, like in real life?
Yeah. Was it Bruce Lee's son?
I forget. I don't know.
I think I'm right on that. Nope, you're not typing.
God damn it. I was used to,
The Crow actor dies.
Is that what I'm searching?
The easiest way to find it, right?
Brandon Lee.
Yeah, there you go. John Wick
Jan Wick.
That doesn't sound unless it's like it's got to be a spin-off thing. Neither one of us watched The Continental, right?
No.
Maybe I should give that a go. I don't have anything for TV shows really right now. Transformers is getting another movie, it looks like. I don't know how this is possible that Transformers is getting another one when I don't think it's being filmed yet. And
they're slating it for 2024?
Yeah, right? Like, that sounds crazy. The Lion King?
Oh my god, they're really going back to the well on that for the live action?
Yeah, but you just said how much you love these Disney movies.
The originals.
But you loved Mulan.
I didn't say I loved Mulan. I said it was an okay movie.
Felt like you loved it.
Sure, whatever. Spin your narrative.
Yep. Ghostbusters. That trailer throws me off whenever it happens because, like, I'm like, oh, this movie looks like it's. I don't want to be.
And then you see the Ghostbusters car come out, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? I thought this was like another Day After Tomorrow or something.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, I don't want to hate on Ghostbusters.
I don't know. The trailer looks intriguing.
Yeah, and Afterlife was good. It's just not like I think I missed the boat on Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like.
Is that because you didn't get into the franchise early enough?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, It's not something I saw when I was like young. It's one of those things where, like, I don't know, like a lot of my influences from movies came from like my aunt, who was really big into like action and sci-fi stuff, right? Which Ghostbusters would fall under sci-fi, but she wasn't into like goofy movies, really. Like she didn't watch stuff for comedy. And so, like, I think that Ghostbusters would have never interested her. So, like, I didn't end up watching it. And it's not something that, like, I have that much interest in going back to watch, you know?
Gotcha.
So if it didn't find me in, like, the 90s, I don't have any attachment to it now.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of these are building on, like, the nostalgic value. And if you don't have that childhood memory, then it's just not going to pull you the same way.
Mm-hmm. Despicable Me. Which it's the one about is like the prequel about the bad guy. Is that the new one that's coming out? I feel like I've seen a couple trailers.
No.
Doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, which
is this a remake?
Yeah, I'm wondering. No, it's definitely not a remake. But like, I'm wondering if like, because this list doesn't list any details on these movies. So I'm wondering if it's more.
Oh my god! Not typing again.
In relation to like streaming service stuff. Because, like, Lord of the Rings, you have the TV show that's still going on, right?
No, there's a movie.
What's it called?
Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that's a movie that currently is scheduled to release in December of 2024.
Damn, okay. Fuck. Beverly Hills Cop.
Ooh, do we get Eddie Murphy back?
Yeah, he's done a little bit of a press run I've seen in the past week talking about it and saying that, like, you know, it's not easy as for him to film, you know, going back to actors aging out of roles. It's like, I'm in my 40s now. Like, this isn't quite as fun for me to film, essentially, is the way I took it. But yeah, he's got a new one coming out. Wallace and Gromit. Who cares about that?
Oh, that was like the claymation movie, right?
Like stop motion claymation movie, yeah. You're into that, huh?
I remember watching it. I don't remember if I liked it or not. But
I never watched it. I remember going to the movies a lot when I was younger, and there would just be trailers for it. A ton. I don't know why that stood out. I mean, I guess it stands out because there's not many movies like that.
Yeah.
You know? And then Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
So, sequels coming in 2024. They did expound on that list a little bit more. So, you have The Joker 2.
Like the Joaquin Phoenix one?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's been some stills that have come out in the past week or so for that. Dune 2. Smile 2. Sonic 3.
Ooh, I like that one.
Venom 3.
Okay.
Terrifier 3.
I never even heard of Terrifier 1 or 2.
Yeah, Terrifier is it's like a B horror movie that has become like kind of cult classic-y. I've tried watching it. I don't really enjoy it that much. It's like a clown who doesn't speak that like brutally kills people. Doesn't really do too much for me. I've watched like most of the first and second one, and I just like, I don't know. It's something you can throw on, but it's not something I like. People love that fucking movie. It's not really for me.
Really? Huh.
Which is weird because like I love that genre, but yeah. Gladiator 2, we've talked about.
Yep.
Bad Boys 4, we were just talking about. Deadpool 3.
Yep.
Inside Out 2. Beetlejuice 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Paddington 3. We just
Huh.
talked about Ghostbusters. You have Despicable Me 4. Kung Fu Panda 4. In Beverly
We just
Hills
saw a trailer for that.
So, like, that's a lot of fucking sequels. You could basically, that means for the next year, you're going to get 1 to 2, you could go 1 to 2 sequels a month and basically fill it out. And what's realistically going to happen is you're not getting any of these sequels till like Q2.
Yeah.
So you're going to bunch a ton of sequels into like the summer months is what I assume for a lot of these. Next week, my plan is for us to do a little bit of a year in review, revisit the list. Just found another toy. So to like revisit the 2023 movie rankings, see if we need to move any stuff around on there, right?
All right.
And then I also want to do a little preview for the year. Maybe give some predictions on what movies will make the most money, what movie we think is going to be the best, maybe what's going to be the worst or most biggest underperformer. So we're going to look at that stuff, I think, next week for our first episode. Well, this is technically going to be episode 1 of the new year.
Yeah.
But that's just because our release dates happen to fall on Mondays, and both Christmas and New Year's is on a Monday this year. So that's kind of
Beautiful.
cool. Serendipity. Our actual 2024 preview will be next episode. Moving on from what little news there was to get into, you want to do some movie reviews?
Let's get it.
Let's work in order. So let's go back to Thursday of last week.
Okay.
And let's talk about Aquaman.
Yes.
Aquaman. So firstly, made 125 million maybe worldwide.
I have 118 here.
118, okay. And domestic made like 30 mil.
38.
What do we have it projected at? I think it was
40.
So that was almost right on.
Yeah.
And it cost 300 million, I remember was about right.
I don't have the budget here.
I know we had talked about it last week. Okay, so essentially
205.
I mean, it's going to probably break even because of worldwide numbers.
Yeah.
But domestic, this has not been great for them.
No, they don't fuck with it in America.
Do you want to start or shall I?
Let's have you start for a change. You weren't ready for that one, huh?
No, I don't have my full thoughts in line yet. So here's one thing I think I want to... The one thing that sucks about going to the movies with everybody is I think I want to start being able to take notes.
I was thinking about that too, because like now we've talked about it many times. Like my memory is not the greatest, and like now that we're sitting here talking about them, like when I'm in the theater, I'm always feeling that urge, like fuck, I kind of want to write that down.
Yeah, and I used to do more of that, but it's hard when like you have like people on both sides of you, and you don't want to just pull your phone out and
you don't want to disturb people.
Like start taking notes, you know. So,
it's a old school and go with a pen and paper.
Yeah, dude, there we go. But then, like, it's hard to see. So I definitely when we left the theater, right?
Yep.
Lawless, put it like that, right?
Ooh, the outlaw.
He was like, I kind of love that movie, right?
So.
Because it was so bad that he liked it, right?
I didn't come out with that same feeling, and like I don't have the first Aquaman to compare it to. I never watched it because everybody just told me how horrible it was. I never bothered.
I need you to start seeing things so you can be like educated to stuff.
Yeah, no. I get that.
2024, new year.
New year, same me.
So my point being kind of along the same lines where he almost swayed me, right? Like,
but I came out of it actually kind of disappointed.
That's crazy. Okay, expound. Why?
Like I thought it was a fine movie for the majority of it, but I hated the ending.
I thought it was a movie that was very confused.
Confused how?
It just thought it was like a million different movies. Like, the biggest one that stood out to me at some point, I leaned over and was like, is this supposed to be Star Wars? Like, when he goes into like the pirates area.
Okay.
Like, that was so like ripped from like a Star Wars universe. in the way that they had like laid it out, straight down to like the big bad being like a ripoff of like Jabba the Hutt. You know,
I'm not going to
was
fully
like,
understand those references because I never watched any single thing of any Star Wars ever.
yeah, I don't know. It just like it didn't. A lot of the movie didn't feel very original to me. It just felt like a mix mosh of like it. You know what it is like these big executives go into a room and they're like, "What are some notes that we need to make this movie feel effective?" Right? And this is where I wish I had notes because I wish I had written down all the different things that I was like comparing it to as I was watching it. But it was just like, let's hit this movie, like let's be like this movie and be like this movie and be like this movie, and like that's how we'll make this
I
work.
gotcha. Like,
you
what
know?
do you think the trope is that made this movie successful? All right, cool. Let's incorporate that.
Yeah, like how can we work that into our movie? And that's like what some of it felt like you know, the buddy cop aspect of like the two brothers like getting along, and I don't know. I thought the script was like atrocious through basically the whole thing.
Yeah, it was pretty messy.
The one redeeming thing for me, like the one part of the movie that actually works pretty well for me, is Patrick Wilson's character. I believe that's his name. If you can double check that for me, that's his brother.
Yeah.
I think that he is very good, and his character,
Yeah, you got that,
worked pretty well. I thought the rest of it was like, I don't know, like Momoa was just Momoaing. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't as bad as he was in the first Aquaman for me. I think I enjoyed him a bit more in this. The action felt pretty lackluster through a majority of it. The CGI for a movie that should look amazing just didn't grow anything more than the first movie. And to a point, I just think that the whole movie looks like it should be a video game. And that's not like a compliment, right? Like,
yeah.
One thing I hated, okay, another thing from like a CGI standpoint. This is such a minimal nitpick, but it stood out to me in the movie. When Jason Momoa is underwater and he's in clothing, right? Like regular clothes, he looks dry.
Okay.
But then when he came out of the water, soaking wet.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? Like, that doesn't make fucking sense. Why is he underwater and not in his suit, first of all? Like that would just, you know, like, that's weird. Other than the fact that I guess he's trying to blend in a bit, but like he just looks like
blend into what?
Exactly.
You're underwater.
Doesn't make fucking sense. So that bothered me while I was watching it because I was like, why does his clothes look dry when he's under the fucking ocean? But then he like swims to shore and comes out and he's like drenched.
Yeah.
You know, hey, this doesn't make fucking sense. It's just like that's visually like off-putting to me. So yeah, I don't think it hit on like the visual note for me. None of the CGI was impressive to a point. The plot, I guess Manta was good too. Like he was fine.
Yeah.
But even that didn't make sense, right? And 3, 2, 1, like who gives a fuck? This movie sucks, so we can just talk about it freely. That fucking trident, right?
Yeah.
So Manta touches the trident, and it like overcomes him and makes him more evil than he was previously, right? It enhances his vendetta, and it's overtaking him.
Yeah.
Asian dude from WandaVision.
I know him as Asian dude from Fresh Off the Boat, but yeah, Randall Park.
Randall Park, right? He touches it, gets the visions, but has none of the negative effects. Right?
But I think it's because he was pulled away from it before it could take over.
Why? Because at the end of the movie,
I get it, yeah.
When Patrick Wilson catches it, he has it for equal amounts of time, right?
Yeah.
And is over and doesn't have any of that ill effect. Well, he gets overtaken by it rather, right?
The way I understood that, right, is like the real big bad, the one that was, you know, communicating to them through the trident.
The Lost.
I forget the character's name. It started with a K or something, right? Contour, Candor, some shit like that.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Kordax. But he gravitated to Manta because he was someone that was powerful enough to help complete the mission of releasing him, maybe he didn't gravitate to Randall Park's character because he was like, oh, you're a nobody. But then he goes, oh, finally some Atlantean blood, and that's why he grasped onto Patrick Wilson's character.
So I get that. That is decent explanation. The only other explanation I could give is that like he was seeking out the darkness inside of people, right? And like Manta had this like thing that he was going after that he could prey on, the same as Patrick Wilson, I think, has those like dark seeds underneath him that he could come after, and maybe like a Randall Park's character just doesn't have that, so he doesn't see he doesn't see the need to go after it, right? But why wouldn't he then have Randall Park killed? Right? Because like Randall Park ends up being one of the major things that throws like a wrench into.
To be honest, I don't know how he survived.
He should have never like the way that like Manta was that whole movie. Like Randall Park kept showing up in these moments, and it's like that's gonna bite you in the ass.
But like the scene where they like break into the little like cavern volcano thing or whatever, and like Randall Park's trying to give up the whole plan to him, and then all of a sudden Manta shows up and blows up the room they're in. Yeah, how does he survive that?
I mean, a lot of people survived it, right? Though.
Yeah, sure, but like you're talking about like two superheroes and a bitch in a flying suit, like.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, I can suspend that a bit more because it's a movie and it's a superhero movie at the end of the day, right? Like, but it's more the lapse in like, or lack of explanation as to why the trident affects different people in different ways. And I think you have to kind of interpret it on your own because I don't think that they ever really explained it.
But I think the trident wasn't a huge plot hole, to me at least.
I mean, it is like the whole plot, basically.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you're saying like, why didn't it grasp onto Randall Park's character? And I think that was fine.
I just think they could have done more to explain it. And like how quickly he threw away Manta, and moved on to the, and I get what you're saying, like the Atlantean thing makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like at the end of the day, like the movie's a fucking mess. Like, I just think that that's, like, the main takeaway I have for it is, like, it's fine. As far as, like, 2 hours, like, I didn't feel like it dragged heavily.
I mean, the part for me, like, I found myself liking most of the movie up until the end. Like, I was waiting for the release of this big bad villain, and we were going to have a huge fight scene.
You kind of punks him
and
out.
Then we just fucking cheap that. Like, they chuck the trident at him, he catches it, and I'm like, word, the fight is on. But no, we just chuck another trident at him and he's dead.
Yeah, it's quite anticlimactic.
Yeah.
In a way. Even like, I've talked about this in past weeks about movies not having stakes, necessarily, and not having the balls to make hard decisions.
Yeah.
Why did the dad live?
I forget where he was in danger.
He got stabbed by Manta.
Oh, right.
And he's like, Manta's whole thing is, I'm going to kill your family and make you feel what I want to feel, right? Like, and the only thing that would make sense is for at the end, for Aquaman to be able to reach his hand out to him and not have this like vendetta of hate against him to carry on like this like issue between them. And not that that goes anywhere, but why did he have to live? Does that movie, does it not amplify your villain significantly more
if we kill him at the end of the movie and then it gives us something to go into a third movie with?
Well, no, I just mean within that particular movie, because especially where you're not necessarily going to get like, there's very slim chances of them ever getting a sequel, right? Like, I think that it makes you hate the villain and want to see him go down significantly more if you have him successfully fucking kill your hero's father. And instead, like, you don't even give it like, okay, we've never spoiled Godzilla, really, right? -1.
No.
If you're gonna watch that movie and you don't want anything spoiled, move ahead like 2 minutes.
Time code's in the description.
But I want to compare it really quickly. So that movie, it's a man dealing with stress and like, he feels super down on himself, like he's a failure and all this shit, right?
Yeah.
And he loses a person that he never told that he was going to love, right?
Yeah.
And that is another thing that pushes him further towards like his depression, but also towards rising to the occasion.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay that they undo that to me in the last minute of the movie. Right? Because the character got everything he needed to get out of it.
And then it gave you a happy ending.
And then was able to triumph, and you gave it that.
Yeah.
And instead, with this movie, you literally stab him, and then a scene later, there's not any stakes to this whatsoever. A scene later, he's fine.
Yeah.
Like, not fine, but you know what I mean? Like, they're like, yeah, he's going to make it.
But, like, a scene before you thought he was dying.
He should have died.
Yeah.
He was, like, it's another thing, like, and a lot of shit always, like, comes back to, like, wrestling in my mind and the way you book, like, wrestling stuff. But, like, if your villain says he's going to do something and then literally doesn't accomplish a single thing that he says he's going to accomplish, that's not a good villain, right?
Yeah.
Like look at Killmonger in Black Panther. Like, that motherfucker made promises and he lived up to those promises. And the reason you look back on Michael B. Jordan and say that he is one of the best villains that Marvel's ever had is because of the way he played the character and the way that they allowed that character to run that fucking movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's how you, like, Thanos, I'm saying, like, those are two different spectrums. One's a standalone movie, one's the big bad, right? But, like, those movies, when the villain promised some shit, he follows through, at least to an extent. So why couldn't you give Manta, like what stands out for what Manta accomplished in that movie? As a villain,
nothing,
right? He's a punk.
You can't even say he released the guy from the fucking Trident because, like,
it wasn't him, really.
First off, yeah, it wasn't him. Dude released himself, and then he was also killed right after. So, like, crazy.
Like, he by happenstance gets Momoa to bleed, right? And that's what does it. So it's not like his plan, like, was executed to perfection. It kind of just fell into the scenario where the blood of
Atlantean.
And an Atlantean
or
gets
no, it was that royal bloodline or whatever.
Yeah, gets onto the thing. Right? That's what leads to it happening. But, like, that was an accident. Like, there's just nothing with the Manta character, aside from, like, him just being, like, I liked him, right? Like, I think he looks cool. He had some decent fights in it, maybe. But they didn't actually have him go through with any of the stuff that he did. And I just think that, like, at the end of that movie, it makes that last act a lot better if going into the last act, he has killed the father of Aquaman.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense from a decision standpoint to me, like, to not follow through with that and at least give some heat to your main villain, your main bad guy. So, you know, with all that being said, I don't think I ranked this that poorly because, you know, we're getting to this point, and I've talked about this in the weeks past as well with the list, where I have to start looking at other stuff at the list to kind of
compare and contrast
and figure out where things will fall, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we've gotten for superhero movies this year, right? We've gotten Guardians. We got Marvel's, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Quantumania.
Yep.
Right? Definitely nowhere close to the realm of Guardians.
No.
Huge gap between those. So you get into those other movies. Oh, I've missed Shazam in there too. Do you think that this is better than the rest of those movies?
No.
No?
So
you'd have this behind the Marvels, a movie that you hate.
No, I'd have it ahead of that, yeah.
Okay. The Flash.
Yeah.
Ahead of it?
Ahead, yeah.
Okay. Shazam?
No.
Okay. And then the last one you haven't seen, Blue Beetle. Or Quantumania, you haven't seen either one of those, right?
I haven't seen either of those, no.
Okay. So this is where our, like, in some of the rankings might move around next week when we go over this as in its totality, right?
Yeah.
I would tend to agree that this is better than the Marvels.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I would agree that it's better than The Flash.
Yep.
And I already had both of those movies ranked ahead of Shazam.
Which I still think Shazam was better than those, but yeah.
We can discuss it and, like, get into it. But so I have this movie at 2.5 stars. and I have it ranked at 28th on my list.
Okay.
1 in front of the Marvels, 2 in front of the Flash.
Okay.
So I kind of just have them all lumped together that you can kind of move them around as you see fit. So while I just didn't I think it's a bad fucking movie for the most part, at the end of the day, it's a 2-hour superhero movie that didn't feel egregiously long to me, right? Like, it was pretty easy to watch. To Lawless, to Tommy Law's point, right? It does border on a realm of so bad that it can be okay, right? Here's one word that I did think a lot during that movie, though: cringe.
Yeah.
I found a lot of it to be cringe.
Yeah.
And that's where it, the teetering on is being so bad it's good. I don't know if I totally believe that, because at the end of the day, like I said, I think it's mostly just bad. But
I think the tough part, right, is any point on the screen where they were trying to be powerful or intimidating, there was never any real threat.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Everything just seemed so easily brushed off that it definitely did hurt that feel of the movie. So I give you on that.
And I just don't even think that Momoa's demeanor lines up with what that character should be. I don't know. I don't know if he's good for that role. And maybe that's the issue in here, that I don't think that he's openly said that. So I watched a thing on TikTok with him doing an interview prior to this movie, and he originally went for Batman. He had auditioned for Batman. Found out he wasn't going to get it, but they wanted to call him in, and they were like, we want to talk to you about some other options. And in his head, he's like, bet, I want to play Lobo super bad. That's the character I grew up loving. If you look at the depiction of that character, it looks a lot like Jason Momoa. He's got the long hair, tattoos, rides a motorcycle. It's something he identifies with, and is clearly identified with for his whole life.
Yeah.
And he gets in there, and they tell him he's going to play Aquaman. Right? So I just don't think that he ever really... I'm sure he cares about this role, because I don't think that you put in the time that you have to put into between the 2 standalone movies plus featuring in the Justice League stuff, right?
But at the same time, it wasn't his first or even his second pick.
Yes, exactly. And I just don't know that it works. I just don't think that he works as this character necessarily.
Do you think it works better if they had Patrick Wilson play Aquaman?
No, because I think he was perfectly cast in the role. If you saw the first movie, he was very good in the first movie, and I think he was better in this movie.
Okay.
And one other thing I would add is I actually think I like this movie more than the first one, because I fucking hate the first Aquaman. Yep. And the thing I hate about the first Aquaman is Jason Momoa. I hate all the fucking... him and The Rock, the shit that they do where they have to look at the camera and wink and be like, yeah, I'm fucking cool, right? Hey, I just flexed, check me out. Or I just made a joke. Wasn't that funny? Everything's a nod towards the camera to try and get your approval. And that's just lack of confidence in the fucking material to me, because it's you're just trying to make people, hey, you should laugh at this, is what that is to me. It's a nod and a wink. Yeah, we made it funny there. You should be laughing.
It's a laugh track without a laugh track.
Yeah, because you wouldn't laugh if it wasn't fucking there.
No.
It also just a miss, because superhero movies like Marvel, for at least the first phase, kind of wrote the book on being able to teeter humor within your movies. The first Guardians being your first or best example of being able to be genuinely very funny, but also carrying some serious undertone with good action, right?
Yeah.
I don't think any of the DC movies have necessarily done that. Maybe Blue Beetle had some moments to it where it was kind of funny and was able to touch on some stuff. But that's really the only one in the DC universe that stands out to me, because I think the Justice League movies, it's they wanted the Flash to be that character, and he's just failed pretty poorly on a lot of fronts there. You have fucking Ben Affleck trying to make jokes, and you're this is that character shouldn't be funny.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So anything else on Aquaman?
Moving on.
Yeah, cool. You didn't see Anyone But You, right?
I did not.
So I saw that. We won't spend too long on it. The last rom-com of the year, one of the few rom-coms of this year to make it into the movie theater, a genre that seems as though it sadly, for me at least, has died off a bit in the past couple years.
I feel like rom-coms for a long time, though, have been like straight to DVD, straight to streaming.
There was always an avenue for that, but you'd have major actresses that built their career. Like J-Lo, to a point, built her fucking career on being the rom-com character. Meg Ryan, funny enough, she did have a rom-com that came out in the past year. It was about a month ago it came out. I just didn't... I bought a ticket and didn't end up seeing it. It was her and David Duchovny. She's like built her career on rom-coms. There are characters that came through, like Scarlett Johansson for that matter, prior to being an action star, was a rom-com chick. Like it is a genre that starts a lot of your actors in their 20s that branch off into their 30s, right? Chris Evans was in a bunch of rom-coms, when he was younger in his 20s, and like, so it's Ashton Kutcher built a lot of his popularity on rom-coms. There's a lot of actors that have been able to make successful movie theater debuts because of the fact that it doesn't cost a lot of money to make those movies. So if you generate any kind of star power, people are going to go see your stuff, right? So like, this is kind of a return to form, and I think the big thing with this movie that it did well is that it didn't try to reinvent the wheel. Like, it's very much a by the numbers rom-com movie. Put two strong leads in their role, Sydney Sweeney and Glenn
Coco.
No, Glenn Howerton keeps coming to mind, but that's Always Sunny. I can't remember his name right
now. Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell. Okay. Yeah. So, and he's a guy who's coming off Top Gun. He's built some like goodwill in his name, and I think it's time to cash in. And like, Sydney Sweeney has done most of her stuff in TV acting, but I think she's built a name because of, the roles that she's chosen, and she has a very unique, to put it politely, look to her, right?
I was waiting for you to give that.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. Like, I thought from a rom-com standpoint, it hit most of the notes that you wanted it to hit. It was pretty fun. They have a ton of chemistry, like, which was kind of to be expected with the fact that, like, this movie ruined his marriage. Which kind of, if you recall back to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
Of course, right? And do you remember, like, the whole hysteria and, like, crisis around that movie?
Crisis?
So it's the movie that ended Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston's marriage.
Okay, so I didn't know about that, but I knew it was also the movie that started Brangelina.
Yeah, so he was married when they first started working on that movie.
Okay.
And like, rumor has it he ends up, hooking up with Angelina Jolie. They have to go back for reshoots. All this stuff happens, and yeah, like, they end up getting together, and it ruins that previous relationship. And I think that this kind of had that vibe where prior to it coming out, a lot of the heat, like, within the past year about this movie has been like, they were very into each other on scene. They filmed it in fucking Australia, so same deal they talked about with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they filmed it out of the country for a lot of it, and like,
so they're spending a lot of time, like,
yeah,
away
even
from
more
everything together.
time together. Yeah. And yeah, it just leads to one thing leading to another, and I think that comes through in the movie, though, like their chemistry, and that's what essentially is going to carry this type of film to be as successful as it's going to be. Box office wise, I don't know, like, if you want to give me a quick update on that.
All right, so not bad. They did $8 million. Do you know what the budget was?
No, but I can't imagine it was like anything crazy. 20 mil, maybe.
Even that sounds high, no?
Maybe.
Oh shit, 25
mil. Yeah, I mean, filming on location probably is expensive. There was some like stunts and stuff like that involved, so that probably affected it as well, like the budget. But I think it'll end up being like relatively successful. The good thing is, like, there's not a lot of competition in that realm of movie, so it could have a little bit of staying power. It's gonna have to be in the movies for 3 or 4 weeks to make sense. A couple more things. So the other thing that used to carry a lot of rom-coms, though, is like your cast around it, like your supporting cast.
Yeah.
And I will say that this movie didn't have like the the biggest depth of like name recognition for the supporting cast. The two dads were like the two most recognizable characters in the movie. One is from Scream 6, and also New Girl. I just can't pull his name right now. And you can't find him on there. Huh?
The problem is I don't know who I'm looking for, both character name or real name.
Well, but you saw Scream 6 and he probably has a picture on there. It's the guy who played the cop in Scream 6.
Oh, Dermot Mulroney.
Yeah, I knew it was Dermot, but like I kept going Dylan McDermott, which is a completely different person. And then the other older gentleman would be the other dad, and he's been in a bunch of stuff too. But yeah, there wasn't like any notable supporting actors, and I think that was like a big thing in older rom-coms. Like I think about like a Lake Bell or like an Aubrey Plaza were like big supporting characters in rom-coms. I feel like 10 years ago. Yeah. And those are pretty recognizable names at the time that were making their name. Also, the chick who plays Agatha in the new, it's the Marvel TV show. She was in WandaVision.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
She was in a ton of rom-coms as like a secondary character. Back in the day, you could just look up Agatha because like she has a show coming out that's
really
after her character. Yeah.
Catherine Hahn.
Yeah. She had a bunch of stuff. Like I feel like she was in like 40-Year-Old Virgin, not 40-year-old, maybe not like, was it Knocked Up or like the sequel to 40-Year-Old, like 40 years later? Was that the sequel to no, what's the sequel to Knocked Up?
Isn't that 40-Year-Old Virgin?
No. Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin are two separate movies.
Fuck.
About 40. This is 40. Yeah. I feel like she's in that maybe. But she was also in one of my favorite rom-coms ever, A Lot Like Love. I'm going to give you my top 5 at some point.
Oh, we're going to do a top 5 on rom-coms?
Yeah, I mean, that's a genre I'm very knowledgeable in.
Okay.
The only other thing I found myself thinking while watching this movie is that sometimes I wish with rom-coms we got sequels.
Yeah, you never do, huh?
Yeah, I was like, I'd like to see these characters together again, you know? And I think that like there was room for them to take the story from where they were, right? Like you end with them getting together, and instead they kind of flash forward a lot of it at the end, like in a little montage at the end of the movie, and give you basically what they could have done in a sequel. But yeah, I just feel like you don't get enough rom-com sequels. So moving to my ranking on this one. This one is actually, it was somewhat hard for me to rank because, again, comparing it, like there wasn't a lot of other movies that were like it this year. So where I fell on it was I put it just in front of No Hard Feelings.
Okay.
So I had no Hard Feelings at 24. I put this at 23 and I gave it 3 stars.
If I know it's at least better than No Hard Feelings, I might be inclined to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought No Hard Feelings was fun. And like good.
No, that's why I'm saying
No Hard
I might
Feelings,
be inclined to watch it.
Definitely more of a comedy, less of a rom, right?
Comedy.
Like, because there wasn't really like there's like a fake romantic thing going on in there, but there really isn't like a finality to any kind of romance to that movie. This movie is far more romantic and then adds in the comedy to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I put this just in front of that, and so it's at 23. And the last movie on the list of reviews for this week, we have The Iron Claw, which we saw last night.
Yeah.
Nice late night showing.
Very late.
So you're coming from a perspective of knowing nothing about this. You know little about wrestling, to be fair. What were you... Oh my God, Bailey.
Each toy louder than the last. That's not going to work.
Bailey.
Like, at least I know the other toys can get, like, noise gated out, but that's just too loud.
It's her favorite thing right now, too.
Ugh. Literally, without looking back, it just sounds like she's unwrapping a Christmas present right now.
It's just like, it just sounds like paper that she's, like, rustling around in. Bailey, find another toy. So, yeah, what were your what were your like thoughts, your initial thoughts on this movie overall? Well, like you
when
knew
you say
nothing
initial
going in,
thoughts,
right?
like, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you knew nothing going in. So what? And this is a movie you wanted to see.
Yeah.
So what was driving that interest?
I think the trailer just made it seem like a feel-good sports movie, which I later found out it was not.
Yeah, the furthest thing from it, actually.
Yeah. But that's why I was intrigued to watch it. Um, I
How quickly into the movie did you realize that that's not what you were getting?
The second we saw the curse start to pan out,
Yeah.
you know, they talked multiple times throughout the movie about the curse of the Von Erich family. And it might have been like after, what was the first time it panned out? Like when the first brother died.
Well, so they mentioned about the his older brother that was actually younger, Jack Jr. that died.
Yeah.
Like very young.
Yeah.
So that's where you were like, okay, like this is gonna be a more.
I was like, oh, okay. And like he was like, oh, we're not gonna give the baby my last name because we're like that fucked up. And I was like, damn.
I mean, this isn't really spoilers because this is all a true story, right? So like, it doesn't like. Did you anticipate them all dying?
No.
You thought at some point it would be like, all right, so it's just one. They have to overcome this,
or two technically, but yeah.
Well, we never saw like the youngest one.
Yeah, you're right.
Die, so like I don't really count that. But in the movie, like you meet the four brothers.
Yeah.
And you know, I knew what happened, and I actually watched like a 30-minute YouTube video, kind of like on the real like story.
Okay.
So I knew even a little bit more, and it was like preparing myself like. And they did a good job. I feel like
doing the research you had done, was this like accurately told?
Yeah, the only thing I would say that they didn't do enough of a job of, they kind of hinted at it towards the end of the movie, is that a large portion of like their issues in their family came from their dad.
I mean, that was hinted throughout the movie, though.
But the thing I was going to get into is the financial side of it. Because you know how Kevin, Zac Efron's character, mentions, like, I've been looking at the books and the numbers. Like, it says I made way more than I did in my career.
Yeah.
The story has it that essentially he was gouging the wages of his sons so that they had to rely on him and they couldn't leave. Essentially. So like they couldn't go out and like grow outside of that wrestling, you know, that whole like little area in Texas that they were in.
Basically, he found a system he learned how to manipulate
and kept them,
forced his sons into that system so he could keep the money.
And for a while, like David was the only one that actually like branched out and went on the road.
Yeah.
Like Kevin and Kerry stayed pretty much in Texas till the 90s. When Kerry went to the WWE or WWF at the time. So like that's the one thing I wish they had have touched on a little bit more, is showing how underhanded, because like the dad was hard on them, right? But I don't think that you ever got.
They never really made you hate him.
No, and that's probably by intention because the boys didn't hate him.
Fair,
right? Like, okay. So I assume that I would say that probably makes sense. But yeah, I wish if you're telling the true story of it, that you got a little bit more of that context other than just a line at the end where he's like, I didn't make as much money as it says I did.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that that's an interesting part of it, is like, you know, it's not a curse. It's that like the wrestling industry's hard. At the time, there was a lot of drugs involved. And in addition to that, if you're not making the money off of it, you look at Heels. You know, you watch the first season of Heels, right? And it's kind of a similar thing where it's like a local promotion, and you see the things that it puts him through in his personal life.
That's like a lot of what I was comparing like the beginning of the movie to. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like the DFW stuff in Heels feels kind of similar to what you were getting here, right? And like how, you know, if you're not making money and you're putting everything you can into this, and like it puts a lot of stress on your outside life, you know, because you could feel like the biggest star ever. Like these guys are walking out to like sold out fucking arenas, and it's just not there. You know, so like that was one thing I wish they touched on a bit more. I also, the Freebirds and the Von Erichs, I thought would be a lot more heavily portrayed. in it because like that's a legendary feud, and it's what carried that organization to being as financially solvent as it was. Like I believe that's why they ended up getting like the deals with ESPN and stuff like that they referenced was a lot of on the back of the feuds between those families.
Okay.
And I just feel like they didn't really do anything with it. Like we got like one match.
Yeah.
For a couple minutes, like for a minute. And for such a major part of the story that like the Von Erichs, like for what a casual wrestling fan, and I'm not casual, but it's not like I'm not a historian in that way either. I just wish they would have given you more.
Yeah.
Like integration with those characters even, you know, like seeing more of the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, because I guess they never really crossed over any of that relation outside of like that one fight they showed.
Yeah. And like even they didn't show this, but one of the things they had mentioned was like in the real story that I'd watched was like they did a memorial show after David dies, right? And that show did like 13,000 fans or something like that, maybe more. It might have been more than that.
Damn.
And it was a huge success. But one of the things that they said was an issue was like basically the dad would like almost blur the lie. He was so not willing to admit like what was going on. He didn't want his family to look weak. And so it like took away from the sympathy that you end up getting like years later when like the other brothers die. And they do another like memorial show and it's like 2 years later and it does like a third of the crowd. Because like that's how far they had fallen off in terms of like fan support and stuff like that.
Damn.
After it. Yeah, like so it was just one of those things. I think a lot of it they didn't do enough of. The story revolved around Kevin a lot.
Yeah.
And I understand why, because he's like the one who lived, right? And he's still alive today and involved in wrestling. And his kid, I don't know if it's his kids or his grandkids wrestle now. One of the two. And they're like relatively successful from what I understand. I don't like they're on more of an independent circuit, so can't say I've watched them.
Fair enough.
But they're around and I believe he accompanies them to the ring. But I almost think that the dad should have been the focal point of the story.
Yeah.
And maybe it would have just made it too dark to show him as the focal point because like the movie's already
I was going to say, yeah,
right?
This movie's just sad pretty much the whole way through, and I think it just gets a little too dark if they just focus on the dad.
Yeah, and like how he kind of does a lot of it, because even you look at the second brother, Michael, right, who dies, and that's all. Like you look at his character early in the movie, so happy because he's doing like music and like what he loves and cares about, but it's never as good enough for his dad, right? Like his dad was like.
That was another shitty thing about like not knowing any of the backstories. It's like, all right, cool. They're all into wrestling. He's gonna break out into a successful music career. Never mind.
No, and it's funny though because when he gets Kerry to wrestle, he's like, I would never tell one of my sons to wrestle, but I think you should do it, which is like a manipulation tactic.
I was gonna say
total
that was completely just manipulation.
Yeah, but it's funny when you say that in front of the son, who's like a failure in your eyes. Because he doesn't work out and he's not like physically fit the same way and doesn't have he's not in wrestling like his brothers are, right? It's like kind of like a weird one in itself. But yeah, I thought that the story could have almost been even better if it was based around the dad more.
I could see that,
yeah. Did you have any other stuff on it? Like any other thoughts going through the movie? Because I've talked a lot.
No, I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, I don't want to say, like, it was dry, because that makes it sound like I'm saying it was a bad movie, but, like, there were no real, like, peaks in the movie, and so, like, we watched it late at night, and it was kind of tough for me to keep my eyes open at points. But I will say, like, I really enjoyed, like, the acting performances. I think they did a really great job, and, like, it's a genre that I probably don't frequent. And this is probably why.
Yeah, I think it's like this is like this is an award style movie.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, it's a movie that's made for you to get lost in the character work that's being done, and it's not something that, like, yeah, like to your point, like there was no peaks, like there were no like huge moments in it. It was kind of just the same level the whole way through, and I appreciated it about it. I think when we get to the rankings, it's literally maybe the hardest movie I've had to rank.
You know, I was thinking that like right after we left the theater, because like there's no way I could leave there and say it was a bad movie, but how do I compare it to everything else we watched this year?
Exactly. I think that that's an interesting part. One last thing about the movie itself, that was the worst Ric Flair I've ever seen. I How in the fucking hell could you cast Ric Flair, a person who, like, there is a million people who could do better Ric Flairs than that guy did Ric Flair. That was, I hated it. For a movie that had such strong character work, I was like, this guy, them letting this guy cut a 1.5-minute promo where he does not sound like Ric Flair whatsoever, doesn't look like Ric Flair, doesn't have the aura of Ric Flair, like none of it was Ric Flair. It sucked.
Yeah.
He was fucking bad, dude. And maybe it's because he's surrounded by a bunch of other people who were like acting their asses off too, right? Like,
yeah,
every one of the brothers were awesome. Like, I love that the 4 brothers all had their own like characters too, right? Like they weren't 4
like they
cookie
didn't
cutter
show it
brothers.
as like a group story. Yeah,
it was like each brother was like, and they kind of even showed it because I know I had seen in real life that like, yeah, like David, like the thing that made him stand out from his other brothers is like they struggled to talk. And they showed that with Zac Efron, right? Like,
yeah, when he steps in on the ring for him.
Well, even the promo before they did the match together, when he was first going to debut, David was first going to debut, and he's struggling he has to keep redoing the promo over and over again.
Oh yeah, and he's like, I could do it for you, but that would spoil the surprise.
Yeah, and it's like a pre-tape, and he was struggling. So like the thing that separated David was he was a strong talker. Kerry was, like the premier, like real, like athlete. And I think they showed it a little bit. I wish they had showed more of the wrestling, but the little bit of his wrestling that they showed looked a lot more like traditional chain style, grappling heavy wrestling. And then, Kevin had like the look, it felt like,
Yeah.
And then and Michael just should never have been in the ring. And they told you that.
Yeah.
He looked like shit when he was doing most of the stuff. But yeah, that Ric Flair fucking was, man, that pissed me off, dude. That was the one part of the movie where I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this guy, you're telling me this guy is Ric Flair? Has none of the fucking charisma, has like the voice doesn't work. He doesn't.
I don't even think he matched the energy that way.
No, like that's the problem. Like he had none of it. Like, because he also didn't look good enough that like you could take him as the guy who's going to steal your girl and like drives around in the limousines and all that stuff. Like he just didn't have any of it. Didn't work. So yeah, with that being said, as far as rankings, it is the hardest movie to rank, and I think it's a movie that might move when we look at the list maybe next week, because there's some questions I have into it as far as like how I ranked it, but I gave it 3.5 stars. Okay. And I dropped it in at number 11. The hard thing to separate, and what we'll talk about more next week, is what's more important. Is it the quality of the movie and the quality of the performances, or is it the level of enjoyment you left the theater with? Because, for instance...
And that is an important question, because that's exactly where I would struggle.
Because I have it ranked 1 in front of Fast 10. And like...
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a perfect, like, where this conversation is going to go. And again, we'll get into it next week, but like... personal level of enjoyment in a theater versus quality of movie, and what's going to take precedent, I think, is going to be the question. But so, yeah, this for the moment is ranked in at number 11. We gave it 3.5 stars. Definitely would recommend if you're a fan of wrestling, first of all, if you are a fan of like very well acted movies, solid dramas, I think it's great in that regard. If you want to feel sad, hit this movie up.
If you want to feel sad.
And now on to our final segment of the day, our favorite one every week. It's where we, leave the studio. We go into the comforts of our living room. The nice TV and a couple speakers behind us. Dante closes the curtains, reopens the curtains. You'll have a ball dropping maybe behind me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe fireworks. Is that possible?
Damn.
Maybe we end the episode with fireworks.
Okay. I can
New
do
Year's
that.
fireworks.
Damn, I wish you had 2024 glasses.
Fuck. Well, we didn't prepare for the New Year's episode the same way we prepared for the Christmas episode. We had this room decorated to shit last week.
Yeah, you like that?
I loved it. So, the taste test. Welcome into the taste test, where we talk about some other stuff that we have watched or maybe we are looking forward to watching over the upcoming week. Do you have anything to contribute?
Aside from the movies we just talked about me watching?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. Another rule for 2024, Dante will come every week with a TV show or a movie to talk about.
I finished Hightown, but I figured we beat that one dry already.
It's beat raw now. Yeah, I don't need to talk about drug use in the Cape anymore.
Nah.
Okay, well, I'll take the helm on this one. The biggest thing that I wanted to talk about for the final couple minutes here, I had mentioned this to you, Dante, as something that I would recommend watching, and I would recommend it to the people out there watching. The new Percy Jackson series started on Disney Plus, and it's something that I've been looking forward to for a couple months now because it had been getting like really, really good reviews, and I will stamp my approval. It passes the taste test for me. The first 2 episodes of the show are very, very good. I've also gone and rewatched the 2 movies that previously came out to kind of compare and contrast, and so far this seems substantially better. Not to say I didn't like the first Percy Jackson movie. I like Logan Lerman a lot. Alexander Daddario is great. You even have Pierce Brosnan in the movie I forgot about.
Okay.
Like, you got some big names that showed up for the movie. Bill Burr makes a surprise appearance in the Percy Jackson movie as like the scumbag dad. So, wasn't the movie was fine, but this TV show just seems like it's gonna, because again, TV shows can just like expand more, give more time for things to explain and work out. But like, you're also talking 10 years difference in terms of CGI capability and like stuff like that. So 13 years more. Wow. So like, that's another thing that stood out comparing and contrasting them is like the aesthetics and the CGI that you get in this TV series are phenomenal. Like, I thought they were very good. The fact that in movies you tend to have these kids that are supposed to play like 13-year-olds that are really like 17, whereas in this, like, the kid who's playing Percy is very much so looks like he's 12 years old, and I think it plays the part pretty well. All the casting so far seem pretty strong. Yeah, he's 14 years old, so he's pretty in line with the age that he's supposed to be at.
He probably was 12 when it was filmed.
Starting to film, yeah, 12 or 13, yeah. The one thing, like, there's nobody who stands out like Alexander Daddario does, but, what can you do? Not everybody's her. But yeah, I would 100% recommend. We're 2 episodes in so far. They dropped 2 episodes on the first day it came out. Can you get me a release date for it?
Like, first episode release date?
So when does it say episode 3 is coming out? That's what I want to know.
Today. December 26th.
Well, fuck, I think I know what I'm watching tonight, guys. I think it's Tuesdays that it's releasing every week now.
Yeah.
So I might even, before we record each week, I'll probably watch the episode.
And throw a little recap in.
Yeah, I might come back with that. We've talked about it on here. It is tough watching these things that come out by like every week. It's hard to not just want to binge watch stuff, but like I said, I've been looking forward to this one. I feel like we're getting 10 episodes, so there's still a good chunk going forward. I'm excited for that.
And showing your lead has a run of 8 episodes, so I don't know if that's all they're doing.
8 then, okay. But there's 4 books, so I imagine, assuming this is going to be successful, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be, you're going to get quite a bit more of this. I'm also tempted the same way I did with the Hunger Games to read the books.
By that, he means listen to the audiobooks.
Same thing.
No
difference.
No.
I don't see a difference.
There's a difference.
Okay. You should read the books.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, won't do it, huh? Won't watch TV shows, won't read books. What are we,
What are we here for?
What are we here for? That's the question. I think that that's what I had to contribute. I mean, like, I've mostly been watching YouTube stuff. I told you before the pod, like, I watched White House Down today. That's a fun little just throw on movie for me. I also have been rewatching Terminator, which I just like when we lost the power last week. It kind of.
Oh, yeah, you even talked about that last week. You were watching Genesis.
Yeah, so I started watching Dark Fate, which is really fucking good, even though people hated it. So I'll finish that too. But yeah, that's really all I've got going on. Is there anything else we missed out there? Let us know. I don't know if there's anything that's really been coming out. Oh, Rebel Moon, Netflix movie. I've not watched it.
Maybe I haven't even heard of it. What is it?
I don't know. It's a Zack Snyder movie. It's probably trash if we know anything about Zack Snyder. So yeah, Rebel Moon. We'll come back. Rebel Mon. What is this? The Rastafarian movie?
It's a Rebel Mon.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that next week because it's getting terrible reviews. So we can hate watch it.
Yeah, 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah, so it's straight to Netflix movie. I think there's supposed to be a part 2, maybe. Who knows? If you've watched that out there and it's worth watching, let us know. If it's something good to hate watch, let us know about that too. Like we said,
watch.
Yeah, like we said, keep tuned for next week where we do a little revision of 2023 and we look ahead to 2024. Bailey is still making herself known in the room at the end of the podcast. I didn't mention it at the beginning. If you could give us a like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff would be very grateful for you on that front. If you even just stop by for a minute, we appreciate you. If you stop by for a minute, though, you didn't make it this far. So go fuck yourself. You can find us on Instagram at For Those of Good Taste, on TikTok at FTWGT, on Twitter or X at Good Taste Live. Dante, they will find you at Dirty Water ENT and _ Dirty Water ENT everywhere that you do not show up on.
Sure.
I'm right?
Yeah, Dirty Water ENT on YouTube, Dirty Water _ ENT on Twitch and Instagram. Okay. Coming back in 2024, I promise.
And then the Bang Bang this week, we'll have fireworks spurting out of it, right? Pew, 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 pew.
That's a lot
Terrible
of pews to sing up.
Oh,
it's all right. I'll have better sound effects over it.
Thank God. Till next week, everybody. Enjoy your new year. Be safe. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Deuces.
Peace. Ski.
For those with good taste.
And if you like this video, watch the next video.